Houston to join the staff here at Action Performance and Wellness. And I'm actually a physical therapist and an active release technique provider. So a little bit different than Dr. Don and Dr. Anna, but still doing the same things with active release technique, chiropractic, and physical therapy. One thing that I'm a specialist in is actually something called the functional movement systems. So that's a combination of two testing parameters called the functional movement screen, which we'll go over a little bit today, but also a selective functional movement assessment, which is an assessment of a full body capacity for function and movement. So the FMS, has anyone ever heard of it before? Okay, so not many have if you aren't in professional athletics. So it actually got its start in 2002. A physical therapist by the name of Gray Cook invented this functional movement screen, which is 7 tests that actually look at somebody's physical capacity from a functional standpoint. So I say functional a lot. Functional actually means something that you do that actually translates over into another activity. So functional training has been the fad for the last 10 years or so. So what's actually functional training? Is running functional training? Maybe. You could be on the treadmill, that's not too functional, or you could be trail running. Very different, 2 different things. So really having something that you're doing correlating with something else in activity. So the FMS is very simplistic. It takes about 6 to 10 minutes to complete, but it's 7 different tests that we look at from a physical capacity standpoint. A combination between mobility, stability, and something that we'll cover in a little bit called motor control. So the first test of the functional movement screen is actually the deep squat. So how many of you incorporate squats into your workouts right now? Okay, does anyone want to volunteer to test out the squat today? Sure. All right, we'll get you come up. So the way that we're going to do it is we're going to be giving certain parameters. We're going to give you a position, and then we're going to complete the motion. So I'll go over the testing, and then I'll go over exactly what we're looking for. So I want you to start with come right where I am, feet shoulder width apart. Your toes are going to be facing directly forward. Go a little bit more in. Perfect. You're going to have the dowel up over your head here. You grab with your hands. And you're going to be coming into my hands here at 90 degrees. Okay. So move the hands into my hands. Perfect. You're going to go straight up overhead. You're going to maintain this position, squat down, hold for a second as low as you can go, and then come back up. You're going to complete it again. Yeah, you're good. Wardrobe. Back up. One more time. Back up. Good. So anyone squat like that in their workouts? Nobody really does. What this is a test for functional capacity. You can relax that down. But what we're looking at is actually the full body, the way it's integrated together. So in that functional position with the arms up overhead, going all the way down, a lot of stuff has to happen. So most of us squat out here, we squat in here, we do single leg, double leg, we can do a bunch of different stuff. But this is actually a basis of developmental strategy, whereas we're children, we come up and we move in a certain way. So I was looking at a couple different things, but that was less than perfect. That was a really good squat. I'm sure you do that a lot in your training, squatting a lot. So we're going to try to clean it up just by a simple manner. We're actually going to elevate the heels up a tiny bit. So I'm going to bring this board behind you. You can step up a tiny bit here. What I want you to do is exactly the same thing, but your heels are just going to be up on the board. So go a little bit wider with your legs. Okay, we're going to get this up again. Bring it down to the head. Go out to my hands. Good. Raise up. And squat back down. Good. Back up. Again. Back up. One more time. Good. So from your guys' perspective, what looked better, without the board or with the board? With the board for sure. So only about 1.25 inches made a difference between a movement that was very good biomechanically and a movement that may have, without the board, caused some future injury. So you can relax that. Thanks for volunteering here. So what we're going to be doing is, you can go. Thank you. We're going to be grading that from a 0 to 3 standpoint, so 4 criteria. 0 means that you had pain during the movement. So 0 is not where we want to be. If you get a 0, that means that we probably need some medical treatment. But from a 1 standpoint, meaning that you can't really complete the motion whatsoever. So a 2 would be you can complete the motion with a little bit of deviation. You have some dysfunction in the movement. 3 is like the best thing you've ever seen. It should be on YouTube, and it probably got 1 million hits. So most people, the goal is to get within a 2. A 2 means that you're going to be ready to train. You can add some external load, so you can get a barbell on, you can get some dumbbells, and you're going to be safe while doing that motion. And a 1 is really where we see most people 1 to 2, where we need to correct up through progressive exercises. So deep squat, 0 through 3, and then we'll score that out at a 2 there. The next one we're going to look at is the hurdle step. Do we have another volunteer that wants to do a test? We'll take anybody. Okay. So the first 3 tests out of 7 are really looking at gross motor function and movement capacity. So a lot of different things happening at once. So for this next test, what we're going to look at is actually a measurement off the lower leg, the tibial tuberosity height. So we're at about 17 inches here. So we're going to set up the kit up to 17 inches. So I'll demonstrate this one for you before you start. What we're going to do is we're going to have the dowel on our back, both hands on, feet are going to be placed together, toes are going to be right up on the board, go over, touch the heel down, back, replace the heel. So you're going to be gazing straight up at that picture there. So have the feet totally together, the toes are going to be right up next to the board here, so step up a tiny bit and then go feet together. Good, we're going to go over with the right foot, touch the right heel down. Okay, reset. We're going to have 3 chances to do each one. Same thing. And then come on back, replace the foot. Good. One more time, same leg. And back. Okay, so everyone see that strategy to get it over the first time? Really that heavy compensation actually knocked it over, but the brain found a way to complete the task. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's test out the left leg here. Okay, similar to the right, as best as you can. Okay, come back to get stuck. One more time here. And back. Okay, and relax. So that was a little bit more objective than subjective compared to the first test. So there we actually had a score of 2. He was able to do it on the right side going over, but obviously it wasn't that perfect boom, boom. So the 2 score on the right side as opposed to the 3 wasn't able to get it. Even on that 3rd attempt, went around just to clear it. So really that was our first example of something we call, thanks for your volunteering, an asymmetry between the right and the left sides. So a lot of the testing with the functional movement screen has to do with asymmetries. So we're looking at the way the body functions from the right to the left. One of the biggest predictors of injury rate is actually an asymmetry. So for right, we had 2, left we had a 1. So that 1 sticks out again. 1 means that we're not going to be able to do really anything with single leg stance. So you guys are looking at probably, range of motion on the right side, but we're also looking at stability on the left side. So as we're in this motion here, a lot of stuff has to happen. Our shoulder blades are locked in, so our thoracic spine, lumbar spine have to stay stabilized. We have to be on a single leg stance on the left side. So our hip has to be active, our glutes have to be active. Also, we have to have some ankle strategy for stability. We have to have the mobility to get over on the right side. And also we have to have the proprioception, the way that we imagine ourselves in space, to complete the motion itself. So with the right-left asymmetry, the biggest thing that we look at to try to correct from a therapy standpoint or also from an exercise standpoint is to get this 1 up to a 2. So at 2, meaning that we can exercise, we can get something like a single leg stance exercise, but we can also stay safe. So the 3rd one we're going to look at is going to be a trunk stability push-up. So anyone incorporate push-ups into their workouts? Okay, so a lot of people. This is going to be a little bit different in the way we test this again. Can I get another example person to come up?
I'll do it.
All right. So the way I want you to set up, you're going to be right down on your stomach. Feet are going to be together, toes are going to be locked in. Your thumbs are going to be at a height, it's going to be right at your forehead. You're going to come out with the hands. Push yourself straight up. Give you a little bit more room. All right, feet are going to be together, toes kicked in. So bring the toe. There you go. Oop. Right from this position, we're going to push up. Back down. Relax everything. Push up again. Back down. One more time. Back down. So that's pretty good. We're going to drop these hands down just a tiny bit. Same exact thing. Complete the motion. Good. Back down. One more time. Good. So not a huge difference between the first hand position and the second hand position, but what that actually does is has you able to use your upper body a little bit more from a strength standpoint when you drop the hands down. But really from this testing parameter, we're looking at the lower spine, the upper spine, the way they're integrating together. So do another push-up here. Back down. So that's pretty good. Everything's moving up as a unit. So really we're looking at the way that trunk is stabilizing through the core. Push up again. Back down. Do a sloppy push-up without your glutes going. See the difference between there and come back down? Do a good one. Everything's leading from the pillar strength, we call it, so you can come back down. So the butt, shoulders, the way the core integrates together. So linking up those things is really going to be indicative of an exercise where you do heavy loading, where you really need to get your core involved. Good, thank you very much. So that's actually the only test that's different between men and women. The women actually get their hands a little bit lower to get their strength in, but men actually test from here and from the chin level. So those are very functional examples that were given, 1 through 3. Next one we're going to look at is actually a little bit more of range of motion. So it's called shoulder mobility. So many of these tests have a combination between mobility and stability components, but this one is actually the most mobility driven. So what we're going to do is have our arms out to the sides. Thumbs are going to be grasped between our hands. One's going to go up, one's going to go back. We're going to get them as close as possible together. Can I get another example to come up? All right. You'll be good at this one, I promise.
My calf was hurting. I couldn't do that.
Okay. So let's face the board.
Okay.
You're going to go out to a T with the hands. You're going to grasp your thumbs. Let's have this one go up, this one go back behind your back. Good. Get this one as close together as possible. Good. Go back out to the T. So simultaneously get them as close to possible. Good. One more time. Good. Let's go opposite side. So right's going to go up, left's going to go back. Good. One more time. So this is a really good example because the mobility is great here. One more time here. So what we're looking at is a distance between the hands. Good, relax. So a bunch of different stuff's happening here. So it looks like just functional internal and external rotation. So functional external being here with flexion, external rotation, or extension, internal rotation. So two things have to happen. The shoulders have to have the mobility. Can you face this way again? So go out to the T and go nice and slow. Go this one up, this one back. So the shoulders have to have the mobility to integrate the motion. But also, this is really testing out with the thoracic spine, the way its ability to extend and protect the lumbar spine and also the neck. Come back. And you can see here, we look at the shoulder blades as well. So go again. Same way. See, right there, in order to get that last range of motion, to get those hands close together, we call this a winging of the scapula. So we see a lot of stability issues with something like that. Go opposite way. See if we can compare. So same thing, but not as bad on this side. Are you right-handed?
Yeah.
So the asymmetries again. So that would score out as a symmetrical motion. You can relax these.
Oh, so
Thank you.
Your shoulder back.
Exactly. So cueing the motion.
Okay.
And it's not something that we really teach in the test, but we use the test because that's the natural way that you move through the motion. So we use progressive exercises to really try to correct some of the motor control or the way that we move our body. So the fifth one's also going to look at mobility. So it's called the active straight leg raise test. So what we're going to have done, we're going to be laying straight back down on our backs. Legs are going to be together, feet are going to be together, knees are going to be right on the back of the board, hands are going to be relaxed. The only thing moving is going to be a fulcrum motion at my left hip. We're going to get that leg up as far as we can, come back down. Can I get a volunteer for this one? I think you're up. You want to do it? No? Okay.
Do you want a good example or a bad example?
Bad example would be great. I saw Billy jump up. All right, let's come right down on your back here. Your knees are going to be together. Your knees are going to be right on the back of the board. That's perfect. Okay, and your hands can be relaxed. What we're going to do, we're going to measure between the medial knee and also something called the ASIS at the hip. We're going to take halfway between that distance. Nice and slow and controlled motion. You're going to come up only with the left leg, bringing it up as high as you can. And back down. Up again. Any pain while you're doing that? Back down.
Pulling. Pain.
Stretch. One more time here. And back down. Let's go opposite side. Back down. So what we're looking at here is hamstring length. Go again. But also the way the pelvis is stabilizing. So in order to have this motion happen, two sides of the pelvis actually have to integrate. Thank you so much. So you can see the hip rotation can actually cause a decrease in range of motion at the hamstrings. So looking at that one again with range of motion is really going to depict whether it's a 3, 2, or a 1. All right. We saved the best two for last here. So we're going to do something called the inline lunge.
What was the score on that one?
2.
Okay, better than I would have expected.
Yeah, not bad. It could have been a 3 if we get working on it. So the inline lunge, I'll actually do this one myself. Again, we're going to set up in a lunge type pattern. So one foot's going to be out, one foot's going to be back. We're going to have our arms up integrated as well. Everything's going to be in line symmetrically with our spine. Drop down, come straight back. This has a lot to do with running motion. So accelerators and decelerators. So the way that we're using our quads, hamstrings, but the core and hips integrated as well. So a perfect example. Coming down in a straight line, coming back up. The big deviation that we see, especially in runners, is the lack of hip stability, where we're actually deviating off to our front side or to the back side. You can see me lose stability there. What's happening there is we need to integrate from the hip, front side, back side, be able to stabilize, coming back up. So that's actually graded out 3 to 1 as well. Then the last test, rotary stability. So the rotary stability is always the most challenging. We've actually had all the doctors working on this, and nobody has quite perfected it yet. So this really looks at a reciprocal motion, or the way our body cross-links and uses opposite sides. So having the shoulders right in line with the elbows and the hands, having the knees in line with the hips, we're going to simultaneously move the right and left out, touch, out, and replace. Anyone want to volunteer that one? This one's tough. So get the knees right under the hips. The feet are going to be right up against the board as well. Hands are going to be right up against, and then come forward a tiny bit. Okay, let's go right arm, right leg out. You're going to touch knee to elbow, out again. Okay.
Wow.
Try again, same side. Okay, try again. Stabilize. All right, and you guys could see that compensation pattern. So the next side down, you're going to stay in this position. What I want you to do is use your right hand, use your left leg. You're going to go out into extension, touch, out again, replace the hands. Nice. All right, let's try that same side again. All right, one more time. So this is one of the biggest ones that we see the asymmetries with. So that would be a score of 3 if that was just like boom, boom, perfect motion. What I want you to do is use right arm, left leg, out, touch, out.
Right arm, left leg?
Right arm, left leg, reciprocal. Good. Same thing again. Very good. Let's go left arm, right leg. Make sure you touch that knee to elbow, replace it.
Can't quite.
Okay, one more time. This is good. It's a good example. So we can't quite get that range of motion to get that left to touch the right knee. And that would actually be scored out as a 1. So that asymmetry, 2 to 1. So that's really interesting. You can hop up from there. But what Billy had was he was very close to being to that 3. So his unilateral motion was very strong. So hip, shoulder, very strong on the one side. You're actually better testing out at a 3 than you were at a 2. And that's really to show the reciprocal motion of core integration as you cross the body. So very interesting with that. So those are the 7 tests. I actually wasn't going to run through those today, but we have some people coming in about hopefully 10 minutes from the CrossFit gym where we get a lot of our clients from. We're going to talk a little bit more about the progressions and the ideas of the basics behind the FMS. But with this 7 tests, what I want to talk about is the score that gets derived from this. So we get a total possible score of 21. So 21 is the perfect magic number that nobody ever gets because nobody is a perfect athlete. We have professional athletes that actually go through this score and they don't get anywhere close to a 21. But perfection is not the key to the FMS. The key to the FMS is staying healthy, but also being able to progress with your exercises. So the magic number of the FMS is 14. So you might look at it saying that if I get a 2 on all these and a 2 on the right, 2 on the left, everything's symmetrical, that's where you get the 14 from. 14 can actually be from a couple different spots, but we actually put priority on certain things as it pertains to corrective exercises. So the shoulder mobility, along with the active straight leg raise, those were really mobility driven. So those looked at range of motion a little bit more than your athletic ability, your motor control, the way that you could control your body. So these 2 things are what we have most control over. So with our stretching, foam rolling, our functional activities, we can really hit pretty hard with these 2. And really, correctives at these are going to happen first with the corrective exercise strategy. So with correctives of these, say you have a 1 and a 2 here, and a 1 and a 2 here. Getting that up to a 2 and 2 most likely will increase all the other scores of the other 5 tests. But actually, the score gets derived. It's a lot of research went into getting the score. So it's actually a 14.4 is the magic number, but obviously you can't get a 0.4 anywhere. But what this means is if you score above a 14.4, so 14.4 to 19, that means that you are 98.5% likely to stay healthy in your given activity that you're already enrolled in. So if you're a runner and you score a 15, you only have a 1.5% chance to go out and get hurt on that given run the day that you scored out the FMS. That's pretty good odds. If you think about tweaking things, for every 100 runs you go out on, you tweak something. Okay, I'll take those odds. But actually, as you go above a 19, so 19 to a 21, you're actually at the highest risk of injury. So that doesn't actually make sense to a lot of people. So the better you are on this to the top echelon, you're actually at the highest risk. You're at a 12% risk of injury. And the reason that is because you take risks in your training. You are so functional, you are such a great athlete that you're going to push the envelope a little bit every time you get out there. You're going to challenge yourself. You're actually going to be challenged to the point where injury may come through. So these are a lot of our professional athletes. You see these guys dropping left and right on SportsCenter every single day. You're like, why are these guys getting hurt? They're perfect athletes. But really, being too good, maybe not as great a strategy functionally. So what actually we do is for anyone that scores under that 14, corrective exercises need to be implemented to increase your score. So it actually decreases, or rate of injury actually decreases as you go down from a 14. So let me erase some of this stuff. I'm actually writing over my own writing right now. So 14 is the magic number to stay active, stay healthy, and really a generalized number for your training. But 9 is our active number, meaning that if you score under a 9 out of that 21, really you're at a huge risk of injury, not only from your activities, but also from activities of daily living. So if you're scoring under a 9, that means that you're not turning on the right things, and you're actually going to be at risk of hurting yourself getting out of the car. You're going to be hurting yourself going up the stairs. So really, that clinically is the number that we look at. So you'll be surprised that anyone follow basketball, the Miami Heat with Dwayne Wade, really good player, one of the best players in the world. He scored a 7. So his functional score is a 7. So he's getting paid $23 million this year, and he is an FMS of 7. So everyone looked at that when he first came out into the NBA saying, it doesn't matter, he's a great player. He scored 20 points a game, awesome, we'll pay him the money. But the tail end of his career, where he's not able to be as good a compensator with his own body, he's getting hurt more and more. So he's been hurt 5 times in the last 2 seasons. And really, it's a durability factor. So really looking at the FMS scoring is giving you a foundation of your functional capacity. So functional capacity, 1, to stay injury-free. But 2, a lot of our CrossFitters come in and they're very good. They're great athletes. They spend a lot of time on their mobility. They really score well on this, but they're not scoring as well as they need to. So it's actually the second thing that we look at is performance enhancement. So a bunch of us are coaches here. The doctors are also coaches. So Dr. Dawn, obviously, with her running coaches, Dr. Anna, CrossFit. I work with a lot of performance athletes as well. And a lot of the goals that our athletes have are not only to stay injury-free, but also to increase their performances. So as a coach, I actually been brick-walled before where I'm coaching a movement and the client just cannot get it. The athlete just cannot get it. You know, we're squatting and the form is just off a tiny bit. We don't know why. So we stretch, we foam roll, we do some activities, but they're just not doing the right stuff. What this test is able to do is identify really the functional movement capacity that they do have so we can increase that and actually up their coaching ability and increase their performances later on. I know that was a lot of information with FMS. Does anyone have any questions about the movements, the 7 that we went through? Yeah?
You're going to give a bigger talk, right?
Yeah, this was just going through the first 7, but we're going to talk about core concepts later. Yeah?
I have a question. So is just going through the motion for the test over and over and over again, can that mask problems? You know, like
that's a very good question.
If you just go home and practice doing that and improve just doing that, is it going to really make an improvement, or?
So if the tests were a little bit different, because the way the tests were derived, where everyone from baby all the way up to a grown adult would go through a developmental sequence. So we actually start off. You know, we have Dr. Dawn's daughter in here. We should use her as an example. But starting off, we're either in a prone position or a supine position. Babies cannot move out of this, and they have to work sequentially to get movement little by little, stability little by little. From this, we're able to first get enough trunk support, enough neck mobility to actually prop ourselves up. From there, we're actually able to prop ourselves up to this point. Whereas we come into a quadruped position, get enough mobility to come into this position here to stand. From there, we go out and run. So the way that your brain is actually sequenced, you could practice a lot of that stuff. And if your sequencing is off, it's not necessarily like I need to get more range of motion here. It's the way that things are going symmetrically left and right together in your ordering of motor control. So a lot of these tests, you can practice for them, but it won't actually show up in your score because it's ingrained in your motor control abilities. So it's actually a little bit deeper into the neurological level.
So we have to go get the psychological hypno whatever first, and then
Exactly.
the FMS, and we're good.
Well, it's very interesting because Dr. David was talking a lot about breathing strategy. And one of the first corrective exercises we work on with the FMS is indeed breathing strategy, because a lot of your movement capacity is derived by your most basic functions, which is movement and also breathing movement. So even at rest, we're heavy chest breathers. We need to be able to use our diaphragm, calm down our sympathetic nervous system, get into the parasympathetic, the rest and response nervous system for optimal performance. So that's really the baseline of where we start the correctives. And even from doing that without stretching, without really practicing the movements, you could increase the score by 1 or 2 points. It's very interesting.
Cool.
Any other questions? I think I'm going to be doing another talk here in a little bit more about the basics of the FMS, but about the tests in general. All right. Thank you very much.